Welcome back to the Accountants Club podcast. I'm your host, Paul Redmond, and in today's episodes, we're diving into one of the most critical aspects of building an advisory practice, and that's finding the right clients for your advisory service. Now, this thing is really important. Not every client is ready for advisory work, and that's okay. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to segment your clients, how to identify the best clients, how to structure those initial conversations to get you to create the new opportunities that are in your practice. And I suppose really the first problem that I kind of encountered when we were doing our own advisory practice, and it's something I didn't really anticipate at the start, because I assumed that when I had this great product and everything, that everybody would want the product. But in reality, not all clients, as we said, are suitable for advisory offerings. Because many clients that we have are compliance-focused clients, and the idea of paying for advisory services seems unnecessary to them. So it's that information gap that you have, and it's the challenges that you have in creating, I suppose, the demand within your client base. And we have two big challenges. One is the resistance of clients to change. And if you are working with a client for year after year after year after year, and the client is of a low value client in terms of income maybe, or a low value client in terms of the work that you're currently doing for them, you have to position yourself that you can be able to help these clients. And so they might have solely relied on you for tax, bookkeeping and accounts. And maybe they're just not ready to discuss that long-term goals or the business growth. The next thing is a limited engagement. So if you're investing time in advisory services to the wrong clients, it can lead to frustration and wasted effort. And that's not just for the client, it's for yourself as well. Like, you're pushing the services that they really aren't ready or value what you're offering. So you need to be very, very conscious of that not all clients are suitable. And I suppose it's like planting a tree. Some will flourish because they're in the right environment and ready to grow. And some others might need just a bit more time and the right conditions before that they can thrive for your offering. So the fact that the clients are not ready at the moment doesn't mean that the clients won't be ready into the future. So that's the problem. So what model do we use in terms of identifying the right opportunities? So before we start offering the services, and we'll talk later on in other podcasts of what advanced services you can offer, but in this instance, we're talking about you need to know which clients are ready to take advantage of the offering that you have. And this is where client segmentation comes into play. By grouping your clients based on whether they're ready for advisory services or not. And you can focus those efforts on those who are most likely to benefit. And how do we go about doing that? And this is done by the information that you have on your clients within your practice. Maybe you have it in your CRM. Maybe you have it just by the knowledge of your clients that you have. So we will grade the clients, and we'll grade them A, B, and C. And I don't like the A, B, C style of grading, but for this purpose, it'll work. You can grade them 1, 2, 3, either, whatever you prefer in terms of that style of grading. But the A clients are high potential clients who have shown interest in growth, profitability, or some kind of financial planning. And they're asking questions ahead of what compliance questions that normally a client would ask you. So they're inquisitive and they're trying to find out, and they read things that you send out. The next grade of B clients, these are clients who might not immediately see the value in advisory services, but could be nurtured by education and guidance. And that nurturing program is a program that's really, really important to implement within your practice. And then you will have C clients. These are primarily compliance focused and unlikely to see the value in the near term. And they might be just focused on basic tax filing, minimal engagement. They don't even speak to you. The stuff is done basically online, and these are focused on basic requirements. So you identify your A clients first, and these are ready and willing and able, and they're primed to start offering more insights, more value, and more opportunity to them. So in our own practice in RDA, we went through this exact process. We segmented our clients. We focused on what initial advisory offerings we were going to offer them in terms of our A clients, and by working closely with them on simple things like growth strategy and helping them increase their revenue for the year. These are things that the clients really appreciated. We were going back to them with insights based on their information. And they were soaking up the information and wanting to know, how do I learn more about this? Or what's the next thing, you can tell me? Or how can you help me on this journey? And it's all about understanding where they are on their journey. And in the context of that, you need to look at the stages that the client's business is in. Are they in a startup stage? And that startup stage for a client's business will demand a certain types of advisory services. They'll need to know basic things like, setting up a bank account. They need to know how to get registered for taxes. They need to know all the things that someone in a startup might need. They may need help in terms of their marketing, their sales, whatever advisory offering you're giving them. So that startup has a particular area of requirement in terms of simple advisory services. Then when they move across the bridge from startup to grow, a whole other set of advisory problems they will need. They need to know how to build a team. They need to understand the journey they're on. They need to know where the pitfalls are coming. And that comes up with the next stage. And then you have the scale stage of it, which is the third of the four stages. And that means when they're really looking to scale their business, maybe treble the size of their business or double the size of it, what services can you offer? And then we have the harvest stage where they're ready to wind down or sell or transfer their business over. So those four stages are very, very important in terms of the client segmentation as well as the A and B clients. So we've done our segmentation. We know our list of clients. We know the scale of the clients. We know a bit about the clients because we've done a bit of research on what we already have with them. So then the real thing is, how do you have that first advisory conversation? And what does that look like? And how do you go about it? And this is where a lot of people get very scared in terms of how to actually have that very first conversation with a client on advisory services. And the analysis I'd like to talk about is, think of it as if you're going to a doctor, a GP, and you're sitting down and you're having a conversation with the doctor. The doctor is not prescribing the treatment at the very outset of the conversation. They're offering a checkup. He's not giving you the prescription. He's just finding out what's going on and what steps can taken to improve your health. And if we apply that same analogy to our clients and our A clients, and we sit down and we have a conversation with our clients as to what are the problems you're having, how healthy is your business. We know all the answers to this. We've done our research in the back. We know the stage the client is at. We understand what the problems they have because we've created our list of problems. We know inherently what the problems likely to have at the different stages of the business. And then we're going in with all this information. And if you're a qualified accountant, you have this information inside you. So do not be afraid to actually have the confidence to sit down, because they don't know what you don't know in terms of that side of it. And their expectation level is you know how to solve all the problems that they have. And what you're trying to find out is identify what the problems are first, so you can put a plan in place to help them do that. So in our own side is, we approached our A clients with a very simple financial health review, focusing on very simple things like their future goals, what they wanted to achieve in the next year, what their problems were, what their issues were, what their values were, what the opportunities were in their business. And a simple issues and opportunity list can be a massive eye-opener for the client. And that engagement can be one of the most successful projects you'll ever do in terms of an ongoing project. But you need to be careful when you do that. You're not there to solve the problems at this stage. So if a client comes up with this issue, you don't solve the problems on an initial advisory call. What you're doing is identifying the problems, letting them understand that you know where their problems are. And a lot of times that just, if you have your own problem in your own life and somebody is willing to listen to you and somebody is willing to sit down and understand the problem, maybe that's all you need in it. And that's a brilliant advisory first conversation as well. So now that you've had the first conversation and now that you understand what that actually means, and you've segmented your client list, you've reached out to the client, now you're focusing on the goals that the clients are looking to actually achieve. So you sit with a client, and when you're looking at goals, and everybody talks about these things called SMART goals, and everybody talks about, goal setting. But the goal setting is one part of it. And getting the client to brain dump what they have on a sheet of paper helps them clear their mind and clear their brain. And it's a great idea. Put the date on a sheet of paper and put the date of this time next year. You get them to write down 1 to 20, and you focus on making sure they hit that number 20. And usually it's the last 3 or 4 that will make a big difference. Just that active goal setting sets you so far apart from compliance-based accounting, and it sets the client relationship so far apart. Now they've started this journey with you, and now they're really saying, here we are, we're on the journey of advisory services. All we have done with that is create a phone call or an in-person meeting, sat down, asked a few business health questions, got them to do a little bit of work. And that initial conversation tends not to be charged for, and they're going away with this value from that. And following on from having the initial conversation and finding your clients, you then need to understand how to create an offer, how to make an offer to a client, how to send that offer to the client after that. And what a lot of people do is they'll have the initial conversation and nothing will happen. That's worse than not having the conversation in the first place, because you've lifted and raised the expectation of the client when you found that client and had an initial conversation, and then there's no follow-up. And the money is always in the follow-up. I'm going to repeat that. The money is always in the follow-up. And a third time, the money is always in the follow-up. And if you systemize the follow-up, it becomes a lot easier. So when you're working on the advisory, you have to have the system in place. And we'll talk about all this as we go through the podcast at a later stage. So I suppose to kind of tidy up here a little bit, what are the actions that you really need to do as a result of this podcast? First one is segment your list. Reach out to your 8 clients and focus on the client goals. That's the 3-step approach that you can do today, and you can actually be on the path for advisory services. And just remember, not every client is a good fit for advisory services, but that's okay. It doesn't mean that client is not a good fit for you. The key is to focus on the ones that are ready for growth, right? So as we said, start up, grow, scale, and harvest. So people that are ready for growth are always willing to listen and to have a conversation with you. So I would ask you, there's a link here to join a waitlist or the club. We're creating an accountants club community where we will dig a lot deeper into all of these things, and we will have a lot more help and assistance for you within the community. So I'd encourage you to complete the waitlist. And I would also ask a personal favor, if you wouldn't mind liking the podcast, and it would be fantastic if you felt strong enough to leave a review, because it really does help in terms of the SEO for this podcast for myself, so that I can help more people. The next episode is a really, really exciting episode. And the next episode is, how can you protect yourself against the bigger firms coming in and taking your clients? Now, protecting yourself against the bigger firms, and how can you offer everything to your client that he requires in his business? And this is one that has actually escalated my own personal business to massive heights. So I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you so much.